All right, it's time to cup another coffee. We just got a massive shipment of green coffee in. A ton of it's from Brazil, but we got a bunch from Ethiopia, Costa Rica, Colombia, and the new one we're gonna cup today is our Guatemala from Huehuetenango. This is a Quetzal coffee, similar to the last one that we just had, but this is a new crop, so we're just gonna cup it and make sure that it tastes similar or whatever differences there may be. We can pick those apart and see how we want to describe them. So we've got 4 cups, it's all the same coffee, all ground at the exact same grind setting, same amount, 10 grams in each. And I'm just gonna fill these with some hot water and go through the cupping process. So we're gonna start at a 9-minute total brew time. So we just wanna make sure we're also filling these to the same water weight so that the ratio of coffee is consistent across all 4 cups. And then in doing so, we wanna make sure we also saturate every dry coffee grind so that it all extracts the same. So for cupping, I like to do 10 grams of ground coffee and fill to a weight of 140 grams. And these look great. Really nice bloom. So I just want to look at them all, make sure there's a similar color. Make sure there's a similar looking bloom, which is really just this like, emulsified gases and oils on the surface that are floating. You shouldn't really notice any difference between them. If you do, it can be an indicator that either the water got cold or that one of these batches of coffee is underdeveloped. So you can also do a smell test. You're really just looking for similarity across each cup, especially if they're all from the same batch. There shouldn't be anything wildly dissimilar about them. They should have a sweet, like nice chocolatey kind of aroma. But once we break the crust, we're gonna be able to tell a little bit more about the aroma. Okay, so breaking the crust is just pushing this forward. It's your first impression of what the nuances of the aroma are going to be like. Before I broke the crust, it just had a really nice, nice chocolate smell, kind of smelled like a batch of cookies or something, but now I'm starting to smell a little bit more fruit character. Really nice, like ripe cherry smell off of these initially. It's still a lot of chocolate. So now that crust has been broken, what you're left with on the surface is primarily just oils that are floating. A lot of the grinds that were floating in that are now sinking to the bottom, and those will continue to extract, but we're gonna remove this oil so that we can get a better impression of how these coffees taste and what the body's like. Just try to get as much of that out of there as you can. The more you do this, the easier this gets. At first, this can be a real pain in the ass. I'm trying to clear all the oil in one scoop. So these have 3.5 minutes to go. While we're waiting for these to cool off so that they're ready to cup, I'm gonna replace the dirty oil water with some fresh hot water. I always like Guatemalas. I think it's, for me, it's one of those coffees I always wanna have on the menu. It's just really easy for anyone to enjoy. They've always got a nice balance of like fruit character, but also really nice nutty, chocolatey flavor as well. As far as I'm concerned, it's one of the most like crowd-pleasing coffees you can get, and they're incredibly consistent with their quality processing. I'm rarely let down by Guatemalan coffees, so it's for me it's just like a go-to coffee that I always really love to have any day, you know. And they are very nuanced and subtle, but not in crazy ways. Like they're a coffee that I think you could give to someone who's new to specialty coffee and they would immediately appreciate it. And then they're always a coffee that someone who's been in specialty coffee for a long time can taste and appreciate the balance and the quality of. So that's, for me, a big reason why it's important to always seek out good Guatemalan coffees. They're from the same batch that was roasted on Monday, so they're very fresh, but they've had a couple days to off gas so that we can actually taste what the coffee tastes like when we cup it. I find coffees that have just come out of the roaster need at least 2 days to settle. They're still breathing a lot of CO2 gas, and so they tend to repel extraction when you add water. So if you let your coffees rest a couple days after roasting, you can tend to pick up a little bit more of the subtlety in the coffee. And that's 9 minutes. So these are cool enough now that I can taste. First pass I'm gonna do, it's still, I mean, it's cooled off to 9 minutes, but it's still hot. So I'm just trying to see if there's consistency across all four. If one deviates from the average, I'm gonna push it aside. But as they cool off, I'll be able to pick up a little bit more of the subtlety, and that's what we're gonna use to describe this coffee. And it does have a lot of the trademark characteristics that I'm looking for in a Guatemalan coffee. It's chocolatey, it's very balanced. It has a pretty medium to heavy body, but there's also some really nuanced like tamarind kind of flavors in this one that is unique, that I hope kind of comes up a little bit more as it cools off, because that's a nice surprising flavor to add in with the like hazelnut, chocolate, kind of cherry stuff that's going on. Yeah, it's starting to round out a little bit more. The chocolate is becoming a little more like milk chocolate. Yeah, it's got a nice creamy body, which I think is leading me to think that the chocolate is more of a milk chocolate flavor. Yeah, and the flavors that linger on my palate are that milk chocolate, really nice like tamarind flavor. It's pretty distinct. And then cherry juice, hazelnut. They're sort of typical like trademark Guatemalan characteristics, or at least the coffees that we tend to buy from Guatemala. It's a big country. There's lots of different coffees growing there that all taste wildly different, but this is what I gravitate towards. And I think this is what my customers appreciate in Guatemalan coffee too. Man, Bruce nailed this. I'm gonna gas him up. Which is another nice thing about buying coffees from the same farm, from the same regions over and over, is there really aren't a ton of surprises when you go to roast a fresh batch of it. It's a little bit more predictable when you understand how that coffee behaved the last time you roasted it. Obviously every crop is slightly different, but I'd say Bruce did a great job roasting this as a first batch. Yeah, I think that about settles it. It's like Nutella, milk chocolate, some cherry juice, some tamarind. That's what I'm going with on this one. I'll probably cup it again tomorrow morning, but those are pretty distinct flavors, so I think that's what we're sticking with. Enjoy some Guat.